The outdoor gear industry started as a purely functional thing, and today we have founding brands like Patagonia, North Face, Arc'teryx, and others as icons of the streetwear and high fashion world. Price tags are higher than they've ever been, the hype is ridiculous, and it seems like the whole point of this has been missed. That all this stuff was just there to help us get outside. So I was a kid who was raised outside. My parents took me on hikes from a very young age, and we didn't have a lot of money. But if you look closely, you can tell that my dad might actually be wearing a vintage Patagonia fleece in this picture. And oh my God, what's this? My mom is dripped out in the Patagucci here too? And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but there has been some speculation that my little cutie fleece in this one, that's from REI too. The point is, the gear that you owned back in the day didn't matter as much as it does right now. A Pacific Northwest Facebook group polled its 30,000 members about what made them less likely to participate in outdoor activities, and the answers were pretty revealing. Lots of people of color said that they didn't feel welcome. Literal grandmas who just wanted to go hiking said that they got the stink eye from beefcake Australian ski bumps, and all sorts of others saying that the culture of outdoorsiness had become elitist, expensive, and overly competitive. And at least some part of this is due to the over-gearification of the outdoors. So how did we go from hiking being a hippie family activity to a tech-fueled fashion show in the woods? Well, let me frickin' tell you. Now, if you've been a watcher of the channel for a little while, you might have seen some of our early videos about specific outdoor brands. In the process of making all those videos, we kind of realized that there was a larger story about the industry as a whole that needed to be told. But first, we gotta catch you up to speed on how the outdoor gear became what it is today, for those of you who might not be completely up to speed. See, the outdoor gear industry started just the way you hoped that it would. Just a bunch of nature-loving folks out there looking to make the alpine more accessible. In REI's example, they figured out that the cheapest way to get ice axes was to buy in bulk from Austria, splitting the cost between 21 other climbing friends. REI, Bass Pro Shops, Patagonia, North Face, and probably a ton of others have a similar kind of humble grassroots origin story. And for those of you wondering if I sound kind of weird, it's because I'm sick, and the only way I'm getting through this is with tea. This phenomena, the idea that the outdoors could be for anyone, not just explorers, mountaineers, or adventurers, was a novel one. As folks became more empowered by new and more useful gear to get out into the great outdoors, capitalism was taking note. And just like a middle child, capitalism was about to ruin everything. The later success of these companies forced them to reckon with the fact that their growth and reliance on certain materials threatened the very natural environment that they were intended to help people enjoy. This resulted in one of the most polarizing shifts the industry has seen to date. This is, of course, the story of how Patagonia and North Face went their separate ways. This was a real defining moment for the industry, and it inspired a lot of other outdoor gear brands that came after them. We made a whole video about this if you want to see the full story, and it is kind of a prequel to this one in a lot of ways, so go and check that out. To summarize, Patagonia's founder Yvon Chouinard went on to become a model for reshaping the business world from the inside. The owner of North Face, on the other hand, wanted nothing to do with the fashion world. He could see how the gear industry was gradually turning into a profit-hungry industry, selling people things that they didn't need. He sold the company, and it immediately became the thing that he was trying to avoid. Without an environmentalist at the helm, North Face partnered with companies like Gucci, selling the idea of outdoorsy clothes to people who had no intention of going outside. Patagonia, Arc'teryx, Veal, and all the other brands have since realized that they can make a lot more money by branching out from their former niche of outdoor adventurers. They got caught in seasonal drops, different colors, branded t-shirts. Hell, Arc'teryx even has a high fashion line that looks like it was designed exclusively for the bad guys in Blade Runner.
All those moments will be lost like tears in rain.
They're not even pretending to be sustainable anymore. But hey, at least you can buy this spring's Gore-Tex bucket hat to keep you drier on your walks around the seawall in Vancouver. Now, if this story is more fun than it is depressing for you, then maybe you could consider supporting our channel on Patreon. We don't do a ton of brand deals. We rely almost exclusively on AdSense revenue and Patreon to make this content. Plus, if you join, you get early access to all of our videos, plus bonus content like a dedicated podcast and some exclusive videos that didn't make it here on this channel.
Yeti has such good branding in and of itself, not just advertising.
This is an ESG report from 2023. I would say I'm more pessimistic than you are.
Yeah.
Like I look through this and I see someone paid $150,000 a year to put a bunch of really cool photos with some statistics on top of it. If that sounds interesting, there's a link to it down in the description below. The result today is that the outdoor sports world has become a fashion category. The fast fashion brands like Shein and Temu are competing in now as well. The industry has almost completely flipped itself inside out, with outdoor brands making novelty hype beast running gear and fast fashion brands making down-filled puffer jackets for the Arctic. And with all these new players in the market, the gearhead world has gone crazy. This is what we are calling the gearification of the outdoors. And it's been going on for a long time, and today it is at an absolute fever pitch. If you look up Patagonia verse in the search bar of YouTube, the suggestions are extensive. The results will show you thousands upon thousands of videos that you can dive into in increasing detail. Everything today is measured, weighed, and tested for optimum performance, and this level of detail can be found for every single piece of outdoor equipment that you can imagine. The temperature ratings of sleeping bags, the breathability of certain fabrics in your mid-layer, the sole construction of your hiking boots. There is a subreddit and a Facebook group for literally every single one of these questions. The result is an absolutely baffling array of options and choices to make for what should be just a simple purchase. You would need a PhD in like 5 different fields to fully understand the relationship between all of these different things, and people will spend months or years researching, designing, and buying the gear that they need for a single trip. Then the thing is, these gear lists become their own sort of content as well. One of my favorite creators in the outdoor niche is Craig Adams, and if you look at his content, you will see that his gear videos are often more popular than his actual hiking content. Add on top of all of this that gear today is more costly than it's ever been, and you're treating this purchase like it's a bloody investment. You've spent months watching gear review videos, and you still haven't even booked time off of work to make this trip happen. Now sure, of course, a lot of this stuff has some real practical uses when it comes to intense treks, alpine climbing, and other high-level outdoorsy shit. But for most of us, all of this is just overcomplicated the simple idea of getting outside for the weekend or to do a trip that you've always wanted to do. And why has this happened? Well, it's a tale as old as time, young man. Let me tell you from my 30-year-old high horse that we've seen this rodeo before, and you're about to get bucked off of this metaphorical bull. Basically, competitive consumerism thrives on our own insecurity, and people want to constantly reinforce their social position to one another and themselves. But there is another prong to this ice axe problem. Folks also want to reach a desired goal, in this case becoming more outdoorsy, and because humans are lazy, we assume that if we just buy a thing, it will make us more likely to do that thing. Buying fancy workout clothes makes people feel like they are more prepared and helps with imposter syndrome too. In an age of outdoor influencers posting endless photos and carousels and TikToks of their newly purchased outfits in nature, looking the part can make people feel less insecure about whether or not they belong outside. Now listen, normally, I'd be like, whatever, live and let live. And if you're more worried about the model of Arc'teryx jacket you're wearing than actually being present in your surroundings outside, that's totally up to you. But unfortunately, despite what capitalism wants us to think, the things that we do affect other people. And these hefty price tags that are standing in the way of participation in outdoor sports creates a significant barrier to entry, meaning that people with less money and less opportunities are the ones who are more likely to be affected by these new social expectations for outdoor activities. But the theme of exclusivity is not just about price. You could have all the money in the world, but if you're just not the right size, there literally isn't a jacket for you. It is notoriously hard to find bigger sizes of outdoor gear, especially beyond XL. People feeling excluded from anything sucks, but it really says something about how we've constructed our society when anyone feels excluded from going outside. Think about it. We've gentrified outside. It would be impressive if it wasn't so damn sad. Some really fun and incredible irony here, though, is that research shows that being in nature is one of the single most effective tools to soothe traumatized and frazzled people. It's causal, not correlative, by the way. Being outside makes people who've been through feel better. That's literally science. And guess which group of people is more likely to have been through tough shit? Poor people. People of color, basically anyone who is exposed to hard experiences or is living on the margins of society. And sadly, being outside is a cheap and relatively accessible way to help with a lot of those issues. Hilariously though, one of the studies done on this stuff said that the single biggest factor in nature helping symptoms of negative mental health was a sense of awe. Basically, the sense that you are a small bug in a much bigger, more complex series of interlocking organisms and patterns and whatnot. The results also indicated that feeling the sense of awe in nature would make a person less prone to entitlement, arrogance, and narcissism, which are a lot of the qualities that I would imagine lead a person to brag about the really expensive jacket that they just bought. But okay, listen, the outdoor gear industry is booming, right? So clearly people are getting outside more, and that's kind of a good thing, right? It is true that after COVID first started, outdoor recreation exploded. 80% of outdoor activity categories experienced participation growth in 2022, including large categories like camping and fishing, and smaller ones like sport climbing and skateboarding. And very interestingly, the new outdoor recreation participant base also became more diverse as more Black, Hispanic, and LGBTQ+ people began to hit the great outdoors in better numbers. This trend only began to decline again in 2023 when stuff started to open back up. Nonetheless though, the market share of these companies is booming due to increased participation in outdoor sports. But what would you guess is the #1 outdoor recreational activity for most people? Walking. Now look, I've seen some race walking online before and it definitely looks challenging, but I think most of us are not gonna be swinging our hips like that anytime soon, which means that a lot of people are out there buying $1,000 Gore-Tex jackets, would probably be fine with just like a jacket of any sort or like even a hoodie. But even as we explain that gear culture is keeping people out of nature who need to be in nature more, it is also getting people out into nature who shouldn't be there too. Sherpas, the Nepalese people who are ethnic climbers who have been expertly climbing the Himalayas since forever, have reported a massive spike in novice climbers since the 90s, about the same time that high-tech gear hit the market. Sherpas say that these technologies have made novice climbers think that climbing Mount Everest will be easy. Obviously, climbing Mount Everest is not easy, but hundreds of wannabe summiters have found this out the hard way, right before their Sherpa guides radioed for a helicopter to take them home. Those tourists who are on their helicopter ride off the mountain often wind up leaving all of their crap on the side of the hill, and not even just garbage, like literal crap, over 50,000 pounds of it apparently. So listen, if you're feeling like you need to buy a certain thing for that trip that you have planned, or just because somebody else had it and you wanted to feel like you matched them or fit in more, you can probably just go without, or you can borrow one, or you can buy it secondhand. And if anyone asks you what year your jacket is, just run the other way because they're probably not the kind of person you want to be spending time with anyways. If you like this video and you want to see more breakdowns on our consumer world, make sure that you're subscribed, and we'll see you next week for another episode.